and then maybe this is a little pie in the sky, but I think if the industry got away from buzzwords and got into substance, that would be a big plus for the future.
Welcome to the Bold Brand Show. If you're in the AEC industry and want to grow your firm, we're sharing exactly how bold and innovative firms win more. The sad truth is, most firms that are struggling in the AEC industry are still doing things the way we've always done them. But this show is about finding a better way. I'm your host and founder of Bold Brand, Josh Miles. I'm a published author, veteran of the TEDx stage, and a brand strategist with over 25 years of experience. But my superpower is my focus on AEC firms to understand how branding and marketing in the professional services industries is wildly different than for retail brands like Apple, Amazon, or Starbucks. So in this podcast, we're going deep with AEC firm leaders, marketers, and innovators in the AEC industry. We'll focus on the hottest topics and trends in AEC to uncover the growth secrets of the most successful firms and how firms can create lasting legacies and perhaps what the future has in store. I've got a special deal to share with you from my friends at BISNOW. I regularly hit up BISNOW events here in Denver, and honestly, they're my go-to for networking in commercial real estate and AEC. Each month, they pull together these great panels with heavy-hitting speakers who actually know what's happening right now in different markets. Not just theory, but real deals and trends. What's cool is they're not just a Denver thing. They run these events across the country. So if you're looking to stay on top of market shifts or want to connect with people making moves in CRE, it's worth checking out. If you're interested, check out BISNOW, that's BISNOW.com/events to see what's coming up. You can use the code BOLD, that's BOLD, when you register to save 15% on your ticket. Trust me, the connections you'll make are worth it. Special thank you to BISNOW. On today's episode, we're chatting with Ian Parr, founder of CCS International and Tenzing One. Ian founded CCS in 1979. As president, he maintains responsibility for operations, service, quality, and client satisfaction. Ian pioneered a systematic approach to process management from the owner's perspective throughout the life cycle of a project, beginning with pre-design, continuing through design and construction, and into long-term ownership costs. The basis for the CCS proprietary process management methodology, his approach, has resulted in a long history of successful projects. A certified professional estimator, Ian is an active member of various industry associations and is a graduate of Auckland University in Auckland, New Zealand. Ian, welcome to the Bold Brand Show.
Thanks, Josh. I'm pleased to be here today. Look forward to an interesting conversation.
Well, as full disclosure for our listeners, Ian and I have worked together in the past and have been able to work on a few projects together over the course of the past few years. So, Ian, it's great to see you again.
Always a pleasure, Josh. I'm sure it's going to be a challenge.
Well, on this podcast, we want to learn what you're thinking about and challenges you're thinking, things you're facing, successes that you've had, and maybe some of the boldest moves that you've made at CCS and Tenzing as well. Broadly today, we're digging into innovations that you've been part of in the architecture and design industry. And, I get excited about companies who are making bold moves. So specifically, I'm curious to hear more about your strategies at CCS to grow an international firm and launching your first software product through Tenzing One. But maybe to begin with, let's talk about the CCS side of the business first, where you do cost accounting and owner's rep services. Tell us a little bit about that business.
Cost discipline is like everything else. The cornerstones of that business tend to be process, communication, attention to detail, construction knowledge, market knowledge. And I think the thing that wraps it all up really is an inquiring mind. Um, you have to take on board your client's values, which I think actually is a byline of CCS. We take on your values, but uh, it really does make a difference. If you get interested in the project, trying to find out what the client's business intent is for the project, not just the, successful bid and getting it on cost, but, how it's going to work and how it's going to support them long term after we leave. And I think if we get our staff to do that, then I think you find there's more buy-in, there's more interest, and you ask questions that normally perhaps an estimator wouldn't ask, and sometimes those questions are not productive or don't really have any effect on the project. But sometimes you get a question that nobody else has asked, and you can save the client tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I think this ability to stay interested in the project, to always put a healthy collaborative challenge forward, is a real key uh, aspect that we try to drive into our folks here at CCS.
Well, when I had the opportunity to do some research with CCS clients in the past, I was kind of blown away at how accurately your team can arrive at an estimate for a multi-million dollar project. And it's still like it's hard enough for me to figure out what does website cost or what is a video going to cost, but for a multi-million dollar building or a campus of multiple projects, how are you able to get such tight estimates on these projects?
Well, I think you're asking about our estimating process, it really, and when you do that, you've really named our first principle. We as a firm have always embraced process from day one when we were, I was a one-man firm about to become a two-man firm. How did I make sure the next people did the job as well as I did?
Mm.
And so in everything we do here, we try to focus on process, and so. The first thing with estimating with a team, I mean, we're 50 people now, so with a team that large, to make sure that everybody is doing things the same way and all the arrows are lined up, we make sure that everybody is following a discipline to ensure accuracy. The reality is that by following a proven disciplined project, you are going to get a predictable, reliable product or outcome. And in our case, that's an estimate. Um, our process embodies all of the cornerstones we talked about above. Um, Technical aspects include embedded quality control procedures within the estimating process and technology that we use, constantly updating and reviewing pricing. Um, we use technology to constantly be as efficient and as productive as we can, because the more we use technology to do some of the more straightforward functions, the more time our estimators have to think about the project, um, and to tighten up those numbers. Uh, the caveat with any tool, though, even technology we have today, is that you still have to have the people with the expertise and the judgment to know how to use it and how to apply it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I remember also when I was starting my first business when it was just me, and you look over and hire another person, you're like, okay, now I know what this guy's doing because I can look over and see. But if you don't have that process in place, by the time you get that third or fourth, or in your case, 50th person, that process is pretty essential.
Sure.
But the owner's rep services are maybe a little different from that, the other side of your business. Maybe for our listeners who've not worked with an owner's rep before, I'm sure a lot of people on the design side maybe have worked on projects and haven't come across an owner's rep before. So tell us a little bit about what's involved with that process.
Yes, certainly. There has been, and in many cases, there still tends to be a lot of confusion about the role of what an owner's representative is and what they do. Fundamentally, the owner's representative acts as the owner's advocate, overseeing all aspects of the project from initial project definition through to handing over the keys at closeout. To get into all the functions, technical functions of the owner's rep here would probably take a lot longer than we have today. But it addresses cost and schedule and risk and value and communication, and the list goes on. However, I think what is important to recognize about the owner's rep, which is a common misperception, is that the owner's rep is the construction project manager. This is untrue. The construction project manager is typically a general contractor or a construction manager, either at risk or agency. The owner's rep is an objective entity whose role is to oversee not only the construction uh, contractor, but all the project stakeholders to ensure they're performing their obligations to meet the or exceed the owner's project goals. This is a very important differentiation, especially when you realize that 25 to 65% of total project cost is in fact not construction cost. So, for instance,
Mm.
on a hospital where medical equipment comes into play, you're going to see total budget non-construction being 50 to 65% of that total project budget.
Who would you say is the right fit for an owner's rep project? Is that something for all sizes or all types of projects? Are there certain kinds of clients that make more
Um,
sense to
yeah,
use an owner's
I think
representative?
any owner could be could need an owner's representative. The owners may have different construction projects, different programs, which is why our Tenzing, the software offering, is very flexible in terms of its ability to scale up or down for individual project types. So, for instance, if I'm in a community college and I'm doing, every year my project manager is doing, 10 small churn projects where he's renovating a bathroom or changing a classroom around. You probably need reporting functions and such to keep track of projects, but you probably don't dive into the detail that you would on a $30 million project. So on a project like that, your project manager is probably managing one or two projects a year. And so really every owner is a target for owner representation of some kind, whether it's external, whether it's using internal folks, but all of them would benefit from having good process, which is what Tenzing brings to the table.
So the question there, you mentioned Tenzing is part of that answer. Um, owners rep services are going well. What's the benefit, or why? What was the itch to scratch to design and develop this software product in Tenzing One?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to make a clear separation. Tenzing One is so important as a new direction for us that it isn't just a separate software product, it's actually a separate company. Um, uh, Fundamentally the same ownership as CCS, but it is marketed differently, it's implemented differently, and we've brought special people in to support it. But here's the history. Um, CCS got into the owner's rep business in 1985, so almost 40 years ago, so very early on. Uh,
Mm,
and after we'd been in the business for about 10 years, we figured out that nobody really had it nailed down as a business. The expectations of owners, architects, uh, as I said earlier, even today, there's confusion about what an owner's rep really does.
mm,
And
mhm,
so 25 years ago, just over, we went to Northern Illinois University and strategically replanned the owner's representatives function within our company. Um, there were a number of things that they raised, which were keys, we felt at the time were really important, and especially to the discussion we're having now. Um, the first was that the need existed. The survey showed that owners who know they needed help and those who didn't think they needed help, none of them had great process at that time. They were benchmarking with aerospace and with the automobile industry and other industries where processes are recognized part of their business. Really, they develop process because they are um, in a place where they have fixed resources, fixed environment, and uh, a finished product that's the same every time. So the excuse
mm,
in
sure.
construction for not having process was, well, it's a different team every time, it's a different client every time, it's a different product every time. It doesn't apply to us. Well, frankly, if you break it down, um, um, that's an argument that said there's even greater need for process. So the whole thing doesn't turn into a complete hash every time you do a project. And that brings me to the second it thing that was identified during this replanning, and that was that the construction industry back in those days had no such thing as project definition. There was no recognized need or formal attempt to define projects early on. It was pretty common for people to launch and then halfway through design find a major problem and be facing redesign. Uh, project overruns, schedule delays because things coming in halfway through the process that completely upset, uh, the movement forward on the project and threatened or ignored the client's goals. So everywhere else, if Ford launches on a new model, they've got a process and a project definition of what that thing is going to look like before it hits the market, so it doesn't show up with three wheels and the trunk on the front. So with with CCS, one of the things we did was to develop a formal project definition um, process, and we named it project definition. And I believe that if you go back, you will find we are probably the first people in the construction industry, to my knowledge, that utilized that term.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it appeared in our first marketing information back in the 1997, somewhere around there. I don't think you find too many people in construction using that term before then. Now, of course, everybody's throwing it around, which is always the problem with a buzzword because, they throw the name around but don't develop the process to support it. And
Sure.
again, we tend to be process first, name second. So we have developed that, and it is a cornerstone of our business. And it's that's a whole different topic, but that is probably the most important time for an owner to really optimize their project. The third thing we did, or third point, was that this need for process, and that just did not exist. And so what we did was to map, develop, and then implement a process to conduct the business, if you will, of being an owner in construction. Um, just backing up, if you think about the contractor again, he's got his process, architect's got his process to be an architect. Owners don't have a process to be an
Hmm.
owner. And so we developed it for them. And we have been using it now for 25 years and it's proven very successful. However, we use it internally. It has been on spreadsheets and paper and Word and everything else. Um, but it obviously is a process that should be automated with all the technology we have now, and that's what we have done with Tenzing. Um,
So that it's really an opportunity for the owner to have a framework or process to think about all of these projects and all of these moving parts and all of these vendors in one place, right?
right, right. The owner focused process is still not that prevalent, and it certainly hasn't been well defined or developed. So we believe that that need for process still exists, and that's where Tenzing comes into play, and that's why we are so excited about it, and that's why we've set up the separate company. We think there is a huge need in the market for something that is focused on owners. There's plenty of software focused on contractors, but not so much focused on owner, and none that we're aware of that actually gives the owner a process to follow.
So is that who you see as being the user of Tenzing One, is kind of exclusively the owner, or do you see other people using that as well?
I think it's primarily the owner and their representatives, whether those are internal or external representatives. Um, However, I think obviously, as I run a project, all of the other participants will probably plug into it. And I think we're expecting that they are going to be champions of this software. An informed owner is always ultimately going to benefit the professionals and the contractors that are involved in the project. I think if owner is doing the right things at the right time, making decisions in a timely manner, that all of the information that supports their decisions enables them to be informed. Um, that's going to benefit everybody. It's going to save architects from getting into disputes with their clients about redesign or delays, and with contractors about change orders and such. So it's going to make the whole process smoother. And I think although it's designed for owners, I think everybody will benefit from it.
We've talked a lot about brand positioning of Tenzing, who Tenzing is, what you do, why it matters. I think the audience would benefit from hearing kind of how you see positioning Tenzing in the market and what makes it different from other software products that are sort of around that similar kind of concept.
Well, as I said, first of all, we're completely construction owner focused. I mean, our background for 25 years has been representing owners, and that's the process that we've developed and refined. There's plenty of software out there for contractors and architects, but the templates, the steps, the activities that are covered by this software are all owner focused. Our dashboard, for instance, it's an easy read for an owner to see where they are on cost, on schedule, on risk. What tasks are outstanding, which are critical issues coming up. Um, and then the other thing is, um, you know, we're not aware of any other software that contains a fully developed process. Everything an owner needs with our software is in one place. He's not bouncing around between spreadsheets and Word and filing systems and everything else. Emails, everything he needs to do for his project, he can do from Tenzing. And generally, the system is a one-click system. So, for instance, if you're looking at a risk issue on the dashboard, you can click on that issue, and every document associated with it is right there, accessible for you. If you need to make a decision on it, everything you need is right there. So, I think ease of use, um, the fact that it's a fully developed process that works, that it's prepared by practitioners, that is practical to use. The cure is not worse than the disease with this. It's which is a problem with many pieces of software. Um,
Yes. I
and
feel like so many software, you open it up and it's like a visual panic attack once you
Yep,
see all
right,
the,
exactly. You need a
yeah, right.
500-page instruction manager. It's like my car. So ease of use has been, forefront of everything we've done here. Um, we're excited about it, and hopefully, people are going to find it interesting and
Well,
helpful.
yeah, if you don't mind me going off script a little bit, Ian, I'm curious, like, so for someone who maybe an owner who hasn't really worked with an owner's rep in the past, or a product like Tenzing One that helps them with this process, what would a handful of the top risks that a software like this or an owner's rep would help an owner through or around?
Um, I think, if really any risk that comes up, it's going to help you. But for instance, might be, let's suppose you're in initial project definition, and you go through the project definition process. You've never done it before. It's full of risk issues. You're not managing just construction, you're managing everything else. So let's suppose you have to talk to a community group and prepare the storyboards for that, and you have to get
Mm-hmm.
that done, keep everybody happy. Well, you've got to decide who's going to do that and when it needs to get done by, and who's going to make the presentation, yada yada. So with Tenzing One, you identify it as a critical issue, and you say, Mr. Bloggs is going to prepare it, Mr. Smith is going to present it, and they're going to do it on the 8th of June. Is when it's going to be prepared. It's got to be ready for a presentation on the 15th of July. Okay, that puts an accountability in our system. That task, that issue, will be assigned to somebody with a date, and the system will, as it gets closer to that date, start to send out reminders, proactively chasing progress. Um, the people will see their name against the activity and the report, and as they look in, on the summaries, they will see activity, who's accountable, and is it on time. And nobody wants to see that red light up saying you're behind when
Right.
the boss is looking at it. So, from a practical standpoint, um, it proactively saves those problems for a client. Is that the kind of example you're looking for?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great example, and also something that you may not be thinking about how you have to pitch the community on what you're doing and why,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's one of
things like
many.
that could so easily fall through the cracks, right?
Well, and that's another aspect of how Tenzing helps mitigate risk. Throughout the system, there are checklists on how to do things. And if you've never done it before, you might want to think about this. And one of the checklists is a checklist of all the things that have nothing to do with bricks and mortar, which can really foul up your project and blow your budget if you don't think about them. And that checklist continues to evolve because we see new projects all the time. We also think that those checklists and other aspects of the software will enable user groups to share best practices, share experiences, so that all the time the software and its users evolve in terms of sophistication and capability.
Well, maybe shifting gears a little bit. I know there are a lot of firms in our industry where leaders are looking and eyeing towards retirement. I know this is a project that you've decided to tackle before you retire, and I'm just kind of curious how you're thinking about this generationally in terms of what impact Tenzing and CCS will have, and how you see things kind of after you decide that you're ready for retirement.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think obviously I'd have to say that when you get to this point in your career, you do sort of think about legacy, and I think that's what you're talking about here. Uh,
Hmm.
for the next generation of leadership, I think uh, Tenzing One and our focus on process will continue to open up new opportunities. With Tenzing One, for instance, it is going to enable CCS to provide technical support to owners reps on an as and when needed basis. So if an owner is running a project themselves and they are utilizing Tenzing, it would be uh, possible for them in the event they got over their skis. Let's say there's a
Mm.
very sophisticated mechanical change order that needs to, holds lots of money, and someone's got to sort it out, and they don't have that resource on the team. They would be able to pick up the phone and call either Tenzing or CCS and tell them that they need help. And with that, a member of the CCS technical team would be able to parachute into Tenzing, see what's going on, provide the technical support as needed, get the situation resolved, and pull back out. So we're able to provide full owner's rep technical, the technical benefits of a full owner's rep on an as and when needed basis to either owners that are, doing it themselves because they want to, or the other situation is, of course, there's a tremendous amount of projects that are outside the reach of major population centers, which is where you typically find owners rep and other type technical support groups. And so This would mean that we're bringing this to any place, anywhere, anytime. It's a 24/7 support system that is, not geographically limited in any way. That's a whole
You
new
know,
market for us. So when you ask how it's impacting, I think it's like, everything is moving so quickly now that moving down this road and as a firm becoming all the time more and more business advisors, the ability to adopt new processes and new technologies will work very well. And I think certainly, with the advent of AI, you can't help but believe that has to be the right direction to move. That if you work with processes, you'll be able to adopt the AI much easier much more readily than if you are not um, trying to stay at the front of what's happening on technology.
yeah, I mean, even with AI, I think it's wise to have the professional services offering to kind of wrap that in with the software on an
Yeah,
as needed basis. There
yeah.
was perhaps an urban legend or a story that I heard in Indianapolis, one of the big software startups there. Apparently, the founder went to go pitch one of the largest clients in the city, and he said, "Look, all we do is the software. We give you the software, you use the software, and that's all we charge for." And the client said, "Look, if you can't offer services, we don't want your software." And he said, "You may have misheard me. We do the software and the services."
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I with a big enough client, I think that is just sort of a have to have to,
yeah.
if you bump your head on something, you want an expert to be able to, as you said, parachute in and help you out of a jam.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
How does maybe Tenzing in particular, or how does the landscape of 2025 have you looking at marketing and business development differently right now?
Well, I'm an old dog, as you can probably tell. So, I'm used to the traditional marketing uh, services that I sort of evolved with. I think our first big marketing slogan was when I told one of our clients that we were just like Kentucky Fried Chicken. We did one thing and we did it well. And that was the cost estimating. I have evolved a bit since then, I'd like to think. But anyway, we're clearly moving into a digital age. And I think, again, with after COVID and, the work from home movement and, use of Zoom and such. There's no doubt that digital marketing is becoming more and more the way that we're going, uh, and certainly we're adopting that. I should say my marketing department is uh, adopting that, and I'm doing what they tell me. Uh, no, but I think again, it's like everything else. If you want your company to be healthy and you want it to continue, then it's got to continue to be relevant. And so we're always trying to do that.
I think one of those things that seems to strike that relevancy chord to me so much is video, where you can sort of show the human or show the experience. And how are you thinking about video uh, differently these days?
Interesting question. I'm on the board of a foundation for a community college here. And they have a complete video studio. They have a whole theater over there. And it's been interesting to see the promotional videos, the marketing videos that they are producing. And what I've found, especially as a foundation member, is, whenever they're doing an appeal or whenever they're, putting something out, I find myself embracing it. It just seemed more authenticity about the folks that were, if you will, marketing to me via video. There seemed to be more about it that made me say, yeah, I want to support this, or this is interesting. I want to get involved. And I think, um, I think it puts a face on your business, which maybe that's the modern day version of pressing the flesh, which used to be the
Hmm.
the old mantra. Um, but I do think it's effective and engaging. I've been on the other side of the camera a couple of times for the foundation doing one of those videos, and the other thing that what my takeaway from that was I did my little piece of it. And then I watched actually one of our employees um, who was speaking, and he's a really good guy. He's grown tremendously with us, but I can't say he's a movie star or a public speaker. But I thought he was going to have all kinds of problems um, doing this. But in fact, he sort of settled down and started talking. And
Hmm.
listening to him, I learned stuff I didn't know about him, and I thought I knew a lot about him. But I was so engaged with how sincere he came across, and I think that the video is a way of getting that sincerity, that reality across. And for a firm like CCS, which is always, I mean, we've always had a reputation of being good guys, of being the sort of niche company that does it right, that cares, not just about our clients, but about our staff and everything else we do. Have some fun doing it. And those things are hard to put into a marketing brochure, but with a video, I think they came across. Certainly they did with him.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, even from like the early days of being involved in the construction and AEC industries. The word relationship came up over and over
Mhm.
and over again,
Yeah,
and how important relationship is. And while I don't think video replaces relationship, I do think it's kind of a shortcut to getting one started. Even as you said, you you felt the sincerity and the emotion and the authenticity of your guy on video, even
yeah,
though you didn't have expectations that, he was an actor or anything.
yeah, yeah.
So thinking about maybe the industry as a whole, or even CCS, what are some of the things that you'd like to see the industry do differently? And maybe are there other industries that you think get this thing right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is hinges around process. Um, I think if, and then maybe this is a little pie in the sky, but I think if the industry got away from buzzwords and got into substance, that would be a big plus for the future. We talk about uh, um, lean construction, and we talk about um, risk sharing and things like that. But at the end of the day, we do all have businesses to run, and we all have bottom lines that we're accountable to. And I think it would be much better if we were honest about that, and then perhaps went back into some of the old values where, my word was my bond. I know that's a bit pie in the sky, but at least if and I think the industry is trying to do that now. I got to give everybody the.
Hmm.
I don't want to sound like a naysayer here, because I think people are reaching for better ways to communicate, for better ways to deal fairly with each other. Um, it um, unfortunately, I think contracts are now being written around liability prevention that some
Hmm.
of them are just some of the contracts we see written are so onerous, and um, it sounds like it's a good idea, and from a legal standpoint should protect a client or an owner or even a contractor. But the problem is when they're that onerous, everybody else sees it, everybody else catches it. It puts everybody else on guard. We're all more closed off than we would be.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the other fact is we're all professionals, we know. So somewhere along the way, we have to protect ourselves against that risk. And, uh, fees go up, construction costs go up, um, you know, and so I think, getting to a a point where we talk honestly about our respective challenges and we find mutual, um, workable solutions that are fair. Um, I would like to see the industry do that differently, or do
Yeah.
more of what they're trying to do now, I would say, because I think it will create a better um, a a better environment for everybody, especially at the speed at which we're trying to do business these days.
Yeah, that's a great point. We talk about the speed that we do business these days. This is your time for your bold prediction of the future. Maybe hottest trends, hottest markets, or just what you think is going to happen next.
Boy. Well, I think obviously the advent of AI is something that is unavoidable. It's going to affect everybody. Um, like everybody, I think we've got to figure out how to use it, how it's going to impact us. I think the other thing at this point where we're just starting to embrace it, you've got to be careful about all the folks out there that are claiming to be AI experts and have the solution to everything. I think you've got to carefully use judgment, but adopting it carefully is a big issue. Um, One thing we're seeing that's huge is the requirements now for more security of data by our owners. That's definitely on the horizon. In fact, it's already here. Um, we're finding that beefing up our security is a key issue. I think a process towards a trend towards process is imminent, is happening. Um, um, so I think the other prediction for the future, if there is one, is flexibility. Your company, although we are a niche company in many ways, we do offer a broad line of services, and we're continually looking for new ways to serve our clients and owners and be valuable. Um, with trends, things are moving so fast, technology is moving fast, the world seems to be speeding up. Obviously, right now we're hearing a lot about tariffs. Will they, won't they? How, you know, how aggressive are they going to be? Is it going to, how long is it going to last? Um, you've got to have an organization that can have antenna to respond to that. You've got to build staff that are flexible. We have stopped requiring staff to be located next to our office. We've got
Hmm.
them working in different states now. Tying in, and it's our job to make sure they coordinate well as a team. But everybody wants to work from home. Everybody wants, um, you know, uh, uh, you know, wants to seek efficiency. So, we've embraced that and solved it as an issue for us, and it's now become a positive. But again, you have to stay flexible and rethink how you're doing things and why you're doing things, and what are the key drivers for your business. We're all here, and it's been a problem to find staff. But our company, although we're not massive, have probably grown about 60% since COVID. And first thing we heard was we can't, in the first 3, 4 months that we started hiring, couldn't find people. And then we took it back
Hmm.
inside and said, well, let's change how we hire people and where we hire people. And it's been an incredible success for us. So, yeah.
It's great to hear. I mean, it's in the early days of starting my business back in 2002. I couldn't have dreamed of being able to have a team that was remote or contractors all over the country or all over the world, and
Right.
it's pretty an amazing situation that we have now. Ian, before we let you go, anything that we haven't touched on, or any parting thoughts or challenges for our audience?
Um, no, I guess just the reflections of an old geezer retiring. The company, my company, has been financially very successful for me. I certainly appreciate that. But I would say, parting thoughts, um, the real value that I look back on is um, you know, the friendships I've made, the way my staff feels about this company, the way our clients feel about us. Um, and so, the fact that the firm will continue and be healthy moving forward, when I sort of ride off into the sunset. If there are any thoughts for the audience, I think it's that if you run a business and you focus on your integrity, um, bottom line will follow. But also, I think uh, satisfaction and thought that you did something useful, or are doing something useful, will increase the joy level of your day to day in those companies. So that would probably be my parting thought.
Well, Ian, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you and to hear just a little of your wisdom from this career. And before we let you go, tell our audience where they can maybe track you down online or learn more about CCS and Tenzing One online.
You mean unless I'm out fishing, right? Um,
That's right.
okay. No, you can reach me at IPAR, IPARR at ccsdifference.com, or IPAR at Tenzing1.com.
Excellent. Well, Ian, it's been great to catch up with you today. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today on the Bold Brand Show. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us today on the Bold Brand Show. For all of today's show notes and links to our sponsors, head over to boldbrand.show. Be sure to subscribe to our email newsletter where I'll update you on the latest episodes and other exciting things happening at Bold Brand. If you liked today's episode, do me a favor and share this episode with a colleague. Over at boldbrand.show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where you can watch full versions of each episode and join the conversation by commenting below. The Bold Brand Show is produced by yours truly, Josh Miles, and is a product of Bold Brand LLC, a branding and video agency for AEC firms based in Denver, Colorado. Visit boldbrand.com to learn more, or hit that orange button up top to schedule a time to chat about your branding or video project. Catch us next time where we chat with another bold innovator in the AEC industry. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.